Hi, today we will see cardiovascular system anatomy. So cardiovascular system is a transport system which convey nutrients, oxygen to different places of the body, different parts of the body at the tissue level. And the waste products which are produced from the cell will be conveyed to the blood, and that will be transported from the tissue to the heart. So basically it's a transport from the heart to the tissue and from the tissue to the heart. And the medium here is blood, and blood is going to pass through channels which are called as blood vessels. There are different types of blood vessels. Circulation is maintained by the central pumping organ, which we already mentioned, that is heart. So heart pumps the blood, it goes to different parts of the body, tissue level, comes back to the heart via another channel. So these channels which takes the blood to the tissue are called aorta or the arteries. Aorta is a type of artery. Now similarly, the channel which takes the blood from the tissue to the heart are called veins. There are big veins which are called as vena cava. Heart is a four-chambered muscular organ which is made of cardiac muscle which pumps the blood to different parts of the body. There are two atrium, two ventricle. This is an open heart. The interior view can be seen. The smaller chambers are atrium and the larger chambers are ventricles. Ventricles are separated by interventricular septa. Atrium are separated by interatrial septa. Now arteries are going to emerge from the heart and they are distributing channels. This is artery which carries blood away from the heart, and they branch like trees. As they branch, their luminal size becomes smaller and smaller. The minute branch of an artery which you can see by your naked eye is called arteriole. This is a major artery which is arising from the heart called aorta. Veins are the draining channels which carry blood from different parts of the body to the heart. These are veins: superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. So veins starts as a structure called venule. Venule is a continuation of capillary. Now capillaries are formed from the arterioles. Arterioles, which are very small, they again divides into smaller and smaller branches, and they form a structure called capillary, which is at the tissue level. Now from here, the gas exchange, the nutrient exchange, everything occurs. From here, after the capillary, venules starts emerge, and venules joins to form veins. Veins joins to form big veins, which are called as vena cava. Capillaries are microscopic vessels which are going to connect arterioles to venules, and they are at the tissue level and they are coming in contact with tissues, and here exchange of nutrients, metabolites, occurs. In some organs, capillaries are replaced by sinusoids. So this is normal structure of capillary, and this is a liver, histology of liver, where the liver cells can be seen, which are arranged in a linear way. In between the liver cells, there are some gaps which are called as sinusoids. So sinusoids can replace capillaries in some organs. Again, lymphatic vessels also can be seen, which is there in this level, which carries lymph. Now there are different types of anastomosis. So I have already described regarding anastomosis in other classes. So you can please go through that. Let's see the types of circulation. So, while considering the heart as a central pumping organ of the circulatory system, so this is a diagrammatic representation where the atrium are represented: right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle, and the vessels which are originating or draining into the heart are also mentioned. This is aorta, which is arising from left ventricle, superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, which is draining into right atrium, right ventricle giving rise to pulmonary trunk, right ventricle giving rise to pulmonary trunk. Now, the right side of the heart deals with deoxygenated blood, whereas the left side of the heart deals with oxygenated blood. Now, there are two types of circulation: greater circulation, which is also called systemic circulation, and pulmonary circulation, which is called lesser circulation. Now, in the greater circulation, blood is going to flow from left ventricle. So, let's start from the left ventricle. Left ventricle pumps the blood to the aorta. Aorta divides into smaller and smaller branches, reaching the tissue level, and there, at the level of capillaries, the exchange occurs. Now, from there, venule starts, and it forms vein, ultimately draining into the right atrium. Similarly, so this is in the lower part of the body. Lower part of the body, the blood that drains into the heart, that is via inferior vena cava. Whereas in the upper part of the body, the same process occurs here. The aorta divides into smaller and smaller branches, capillaries, forming venules, and at the level of capillaries, the exchange occurs, and the blood returns to the heart via superior vena cava. So, the blood from the upper part of the body, the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body drains into the heart via superior vena cava. From the lower part of the body, deoxygenated blood reaches the heart via inferior vena cava. Now, both of these veins uh, drain into right atrium. So here the circulation starts from the left side and ends in the right side. And this is called as a greater circulation. This is called greater circulation because it has a long journey to travel. Now, the next circulation, that is lesser circulation, which is also called as pulmonary circulation. Now, it is called pulmonary circulation because it is going to the lungs. The blood is going to reach the lungs. That is why it is called pulmonary circulation. Now, here the blood flows from the right ventricle, and it reaches to the left atrium. So it is the flow from right to left side of the heart. Whereas here it is from left to right side of the heart in the systemic circulation. So let's start from here. The right ventricle pumps the blood that goes into the lungs, and this is deoxygenated blood. In the lungs, oxygenation occurs, and from the lungs, the oxygenated blood reaches back into the left atrium. That's why I said it is from right to left side of the heart. Now, another circulation which is seen in the body is portal circulation. So, portal circulation is a part of systemic circulation. Here, there are some peculiarities. Now, this is the normal way how the blood passes through the artery. It reaches the capillaries. Now, from the capillaries, it is going to the veins and reaching the heart. Whereas in portal circulation, there are two sets of capillaries. So here there is a capillary artery forms a capillary. Then there are efferent arterioles that emerges from this first set of capillary. Then it forms again another set of capillary. Then from there venules starts. So this type of circulation can be seen in certain organs like liver, where we call it as hepatic portal circulation. In the pituitary gland, hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal circulation, and the kidney as renal portal circulation. Now, arteries are thick wall structures which are thicker than the veins. But there are some exceptions where the arteries thickness is less in cranium and vertebral canal. Arteries has no valve. So there are no valves in the artery, whereas this picture shows vein, where the thickness of the wall can be compared. So this is the thickness of the artery, thickness of the vein is this much. And the valves are also present in the veins, which is absent in artery. Lumen, the size of the lumen is big in vein, whereas in artery, the lumen is small because the wall is thick here. There are different types of arteries. Large arteries, which are called elastic artery, aorta, and main branches of it are elastic artery because it has a lot of elastic fibers inside it. So this is an example of elastic artery. Similarly, brachiocephalic artery, common carotid artery, subclavian artery, and common iliac artery, pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary artery. These arteries are elastic type. Whereas medium and small size arteries, there are medium sized arteries and small arteries which are called as muscular arteries. Examples are temporal artery, radial, popliteal arteries. Now, smallest arterioles or smallest arteries, which are called arterioles, they are also a muscular type of artery, and the arterioles can give rise to smaller arteries, which are called as metarterioles. Metarterioles are the branches which are arising from the arterioles. Considering the blood supply of an artery, large arteries which are more than 1 millimeter diameter are usually supplied by another blood vessel that supplies a blood vessel. These are called as vasa vasorum. These are usually seen in tunica adventitia, which is the outermost layer of the blood vessel. There are three layers for a blood vessel, starting from inner to outer: tunica intima, tunica media, and tunica adventitia. So the inner layer is tunica intima, and tunica media, and tunica adventitia. So even though the blood which is flowing inside the vessel or big artery, the nutritions can be drained through the blood which is flowing inside the artery, but this can happen only to the level of almost middle of tunica media. But after that, that is the outer aspect of tunica media and tunica adventitia cannot drain the nutrition, cannot take the nutrition from the blood from the blood which is flowing inside. So there we need some other extra nutrition to this area, and that is supplied by the nutrient arteries, which are called as vasa vasorum. Whereas for the small arteries, vasa vasorum is not required since they can take the nutrition from the blood which is flowing inside the vessels. Similarly, the nerve which is supplying an artery is called nervi vascularis. Usually, the vessels are supplied by the sympathetic fibers. They are vasoconstrictor in function. They can constrict the lumen, they can reduce the lumen size. But there are some areas where you can see the vasodilation, the innervation. For example, skeletal muscles. They are supplied by the sympathetic nerve, but they are vasodilation in function. So we have seen usually sympathetic fibers, they cause vasoconstriction generally. But in case of skeletal muscle, the same sympathetic fibers can cause vasodilation. Another area where parasympathetic stimulation can be seen in a blood vessel, which can dilate the artery or the vessel, that occurs in exocrine gland. So in the exocrine gland, it is supplied by parasympathetic supply, and which can cause dilation of the vessel. Now veins, comparing to artery, veins are thin walled and they are thinner than the arteries, as I said, and lumen size is larger while comparing to the size of the lumen of artery, and they have valves which maintains unidirectional blood flow. This is even against the gravity. Muscular and elastic tissue content of the venous wall is much less than that of arteries. These are the differences between artery and vein. Arteries carries oxygenated blood, whereas veins carries deoxygenated blood. And heart takes the blood from the heart, and here it is towards the heart. There are some exception. Here exception is pulmonary artery. Here the exception is pulmonary vein. Now, location, these are arteries are mostly placed deeply, whereas veins are superficially placed. Arteries are thick walled, highly muscular, except arteries of cranium and vertebral column, whereas veins are thin walled. Arteries possess a small lumen, veins have wider lumen. Valves are absent in artery, valves are present in the veins, which provides a unidirectional flow of blood. Arteries are reddish in color, veins are bluish in color. Arteries have a spurty movement of the blood, and that gives rise to pulse, whereas veins have a sluggish movement. Now, blood in the arteries move with pressure. This pressure is generated by the heart, that is directly transmitted to the arteries, whereas in the veins starts after the level of capillaries. So the blood flow in the vein is with low pressure. Now the arteries empty at the time of death. Now veins get filled at the time of death, because at the time of death there is a sympathetic activity occurs. So as you know, sympathetic system supplies the arteries, so it causes vasoconstriction that empties the blood into the vein. Now if arterial wall is injured, blood comes out like a fountain, whereas if an injury that occurs into the vein, blood comes out, but it collects in a pool in a small area around vein. You don't see a fountain like blood flow uh, in the veins, whereas in the artery, it comes out like a fountain. Now, we have seen that the vasa vasorum in the larger blood vessel that can be seen here in the diagram: tunica intima, tunica media. Tunica intima consists of the endothelial cells. Tunica media consists of smooth muscles, elastic fibers. Adventitia consists of connective tissue, and their vasa vasorum can be seen. Nerves also are present in this area, which are called as nervi vascularis. There are a lot of factors which are helping in venous return. As we said now, that the way the blood flow within the vein is very slow. The reason is there is no pressure, there is no one to push the blood in the vein. So there are some factors which can help venous return. That means the blood from the vein has to reach the heart. So there are some factors for that. So the first one is negative intrathoracic pressure, which is located in the negative intrathoracic pressure that occurs in the thoracic region, that sucks the blood into the heart from all over the body. And the next one is gravity. This applies only to the upper part of the body, whereas the next one is arterial pulsations. Usually, the deeper arteries are accompanied by smaller veins which are near to it, which are paired in structure, called as venae commitans. So this is brachial artery. On either side of the brachial artery, there are brachial veins. They are called as vena commitans. So the pulse which is uh, produced by the brachial artery, that can drive the venous blood towards the heart. The next feature is venous valve. So valves prevent any regurgitation of luminal blood. So these are the valves. The blood can move only to the upper part, not from this area to the lower aspect. The veins will close when the blood tries to move to the lower aspect. Important factor is Another important factor is muscular contractions. So the here the calf muscles are represented. This is a relaxed state. So inside the calf muscle, namely the soleus, which is called as a peripheral heart. So inside the soleus there are veins, deeper veins, which are located. So this is a relaxed state of a muscle, and when the muscle contracts, the veins get compressed. So the blood tries to flow in both the directions, but it cannot flow to the lower direction because the valves will close when the blood tries to move to the lower aspect, whereas it can move to the superior aspect because the valves get open. So this is how the muscular contractions help the venous blood to move towards the heart. So it is an effective mechanism of venous return, especially it works against the gravity. And soleus is a major muscle which helps in venous return by its contractions. Capillaries, we discussed about capillaries. They are hair-like structures. The meaning of capillaries is hair, and they are microscopic structures which are lined by endothelium, which can be seen between metarterioles and venules. Metarterioles and venules. And in some areas, capillaries are replaced by cavernous spaces, especially in sex organs like penis, splenic pulp, and placenta. The average size of capillary is around 6 to 8 microns, very small, and it is just sufficient to permit the red blood cells to pass through it. The RBC size is around 6 to 7 micron, so it just allows an artery, RBC, to pass through that. There are different types of capillaries. This is an continuous capillary. This is fenestrated capillary and a sinusoid. Sinusoid is also a type of capillary. Now, in the continuous capillary, the endothelial cells are present, which are arranged in continuous way, attached to one another. Whereas you have the basement membrane, which is present outside. And fenestrated capillaries, there are some gaps between the endothelial cells, but the basement membrane is continuous. In sinusoids, the structure is little different. There are big gaps between endothelial cells, and also there is gap in the basement membrane. This is again a picture of sinusoid where the endothelial cells can be seen. There are a lot of gaps between endothelial cells, and even the basement membrane is also not continuous. It is seen in some in organs like liver, spleen, bone marrow, suprarenal gland, parathyroid gland, and so on. End arteries are the arteries where they do not anastomose with each other. So I have discussed about anastomosis in another classes. You can just go through that. Anastomosis occurs usually when two blood vessels merge with each other. So it is required in some areas, some organs, some vital organs. Anyway, end arteries usually they don't anastomose, so they don't meet with other arteries. And the examples are central artery of retina, labyrinthine artery of internal ear, and again arteries of spleen, kidney, lungs, metaphysis of long bones. So the importance is that if these arteries are blocked, it can lead to a serious nutritional disturbances to the part where it supplies, and it can cause the necrosis, the death, infarction. Example, occlusion of central artery which is supplying the retina, that results into blindness. So anastomosis has its own advantages, because if one artery is blocked, the other artery can bring the blood to that area. But these type of arteries where there are no anastomosis, a block to these arteries will be fatal. Now, arteriosclerosis is a condition where the blood vessels that carries oxygen that becomes stiff and thick. Sometimes it can restrict the blood flow to the organ. Whereas healthy arteries are flexible, elastic. So arteriosclerosis is when your arteries become thick and stiff due to many factors.